you guys had a decent meal. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our team that puts this on and the restaurant itself. And, you know, we try to do this for every 6 weeks or so, and for a number of purposes. One, just to get together so all of you can share. You know, you can help each other grieve through everything that you've been through. And then we try to give you an update of everything that's going on. So thank you for coming. Can you all hear me? All right, everybody got their food? Yeah. Okay, I want to start tonight with something I call the resilience of Lahaina. This is you guys. This is Lahaina Strong. This is the fact that you can go through one of the most horrendous experiences anybody would ever experience, and you guys can come out on the other end of it and still flourish, still be fruitful, still be productive. And let me just show you a family that has done this very well over the last year. And this is the Magno family. They're just like many, many of you. Yeah. They lost their home. This is Dalton and Kim Ann and their two younger ones. They lost their home just like many of you. They've been living in the hotel for the whole last year. They just recently moved back with their mom, or Kim Ann's mom, who happens to be my cousin, so I hear all about it. That she's got 7 grandchildren running around her house right now. And, but over the course of the year, although everything was so hard for this family, Charlie there went over to the Queen Liliuokalani Hula Festival and came back and won the whole thing. She won the whole state. It's an international hula contest. And Charlie won the whole thing. And a lot of you may probably know what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. There's the Little League World Series. And that's her brother, Colton. He played second base for that Little League team. They came up a little bit short. But look at this play. You know, I played 20-some years of baseball. I don't think I ever did that. The ball's in his glove now. Okay, that's one of the greatest plays I have ever seen. Okay, and the boys, the Maui team, came back in 4th place in the whole nation. So I just throw that up to you because I know all of you have been, although you've been struggling for the last year, you guys have been resilient. You have been Lahaina Strong. You have been improving and just trying to make your lives better. And that's my whole point. The reason we're doing this is I'm trying to help you in the end. All I can do as a trial lawyer is try to get some compensation for you. And we're making very, very good strides in that regard. So I'm going to describe that in a little while. Okay? So let's get on with this. What we're going to cover tonight is the settlement that was announced. I got to tell you, you got to be careful. The media doesn't get it right all the time. A lot of the other firms have been making statements about the settlement that I don't think is totally accurate. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on with the settlement tonight. A little bit of the litigation update and the subrogation lawsuit. Subrogation is the insurance companies, and quite frankly, that's the biggest problem right now. We'll get into a little bit of the case management and why it's so important. That's when we build up your case and make your claims to the settlement fund, or if we need to go back to court to do that, Suzanne will come up and explain the case management portion, quite frankly, because she's so much better than I am at that. And so if you have questions about the case management, don't call me, call her, okay? Because she's the ace of this whole thing. And then we'll close it off. It's not a very long presentation, so bear with me. There's more food. You're welcome to stand up and go get more food and eat some more. Okay, so there was a settlement announcement. Many of you heard about it. On August 2nd, Governor Green, he announced a tentative settlement of the litigation for a total of $4,037,000,000. You know, I'm still got to figure out where the 37 million came from. But anyway, it's $4,037,000,000. I got to emphasize this settlement is tentative. It is not finalized. Too many people out there think it's a done deal. There are conditions that need to be met before the settlement becomes final. Okay. Now, one of the conditions deals with the insurance company. The insurance companies went to Honolulu and filed their own lawsuit against the defendants. Their basic intent or their plan or their strategy is basically trying to cut in line and get your money. Okay? They want to get their hands into the settlement fund that we managed to get put forth. And let me give you a little background again. Way back when, you guys remember, Michael told you how important trial dates are. Without trial dates, the defendants won't step to the table to resolve anything. The judge finally gave us some trial dates of November 18th of this year. After we got into that trial date and preparing for the trial, finally we got the defendants to agree to mediation. Mediation is where we get these professional mediators to sit down with all the parties and try to come up with a resolution. The mediators was Judge Meisinger. He is a big-time prominent mediator from the mainland. He's handled some of the biggest billion-dollar settlement funds in the country. The second one was Judge Buckley. He's done the same thing. And we wanted to make sure there was a Hawaii mediator in there. So Keith Hunter was appointed. Keith runs the biggest mediation services in Hawaii. He is the top mediator in Hawaii. I have worked with Keith for probably 35 years. We have settled literally millions and millions of dollars of cases over the 35 years. So through that mediation, the good news is that at the end of July, the mediators made a recommendation, and I gotta be careful here because there's so much information that's still confidential, but basically there was a recommendation that the defendants pay the $4,035,000,000. Then the plaintiffs got together and we had to calculate whether there was sufficient funds to actually put money into your pockets. And our conclusion was yes, there is a reasonable amount of money that can go to all the fire victims. I will tell you, it's not a dollar for dollar recovery, but it is a worthwhile, reasonable recovery for everybody if we can keep most of that money. Unfortunately, the insurance company got hold of that and got very aggressive about getting their hands into that pot. And we tried to negotiate with the insurance companies, and that did not come to fruition. And for that reason, the insurance companies still had their lawsuit that they filed on Oahu, and we had to come up with a plan. Now, so the bottom line is the only obstacle or the major obstacle to this global settlement, that was the plan, is getting a settlement fund that everybody could get some compensation out of. The obstacle is in fact the insurance companies. Okay? If they went away, this could get done real quick, but they're not going away. So we basically made this deal with the defendants because the defendants were about to withdraw their offers, the $4 billion. They said we cannot leave that money on the table forever because they were incurring legal fees. They were paying their lawyers in excess of $1 million a week. And they said, if we cannot come to some kind of resolution, we're gonna pull the offers and we're back in court again. Well, we came up with this plan that actually works pretty well. We told them, leave the money on the table and we will go fight the insurance companies for you. So you guys don't have to put up the money. So they don't have to expend any more fees to their lawyers to fight the insurance company. They don't need to expend more fees to fight us. And we, the plaintiffs, not just my team, but all of the plaintiffs, we have banded together to take on a fight against the insurance companies. So, let me see. Number 3, Judge Cahill has issued an order which helps resolve one of the conditions. That was probably the most important step in the whole plan. We filed a motion for what is called Chapter 663-10 liens and subrogation. It's a very complicated area, so bear with me, okay? Basically, we told the judge that the insurance company does not have a right to sue the defendants directly in Honolulu, that lawsuit is no good. But of course, the judge here does not have authority or jurisdiction over Honolulu. But what he can do, and we went before Judge Cahill saying, Judge, you ordered the insurance companies into your court. You have the authority under Chapter 663-10 to order that if they think they're entitled to money, they have to come into your courtroom, and we will deal with them there. Now, this raises an interesting issue of procedure. We basically did not want the insurance companies to grab money from the whole pot, okay? What the statutes in Hawaii provide for, and for those of you who got insurance money, I need to explain this to you, so bear with me again. When the insurance company pays money for your property damage, pays money for your loss of use, pays you to rebuild or what have you, in your contract with the insurance company, there is a subrogation right, a right that says if you recover money from a third party, such as Hawaiian Electric, we are entitled to get our money back. Now, it's in your contract. Now, let me make something clear. What we're telling the judge is, although we recognize that right, the way they're doing it is wrong, and 2, they don't get to get every dollar back. Okay, if we deal with this on an individual basis within our case, they would have to make the claim in your place, and Judge Cahill would have the power and authority to, 1, determine if they have a valid lien against your settlement. There are certain circumstances they may not. For those of you who never got insurance money, if you're renting and you didn't get any insurance money at all, no, this shouldn't apply to you, okay? And that's one of the big reasons we don't like them coming into the Global Fund, at least not in the manner they wanted. They wanted, I can tell you the exact number. I can tell you their claim was for $2.2 billion, and they claim they're going to spend another $1 billion. So basically, they wanted everything, okay? And we said that's not going to work, so we're not going to agree to that. But if they come in on an individual basis at the end of the case, when you get your award from the settlement fund, if you got insurance money, they can make the claim there. But again, there's going to be reductions. The judge can say, hey, insurance company, you claimed $500? No, we're going to reduce that right off the top because you didn't spend the money to go fight to get this money. The plaintiffs did. So we're going to reduce your claim by X amount for attorney's fees. Secondly, we don't think that the insured, the victims, got made whole. They didn't get everything. It was a compromise settlement. So you're not going to get your whole claim either. So the point being is the judge can determine what is equitable, what is fair. And I think we'll come out, even those who have to pay back a little bit to the insurance company, I think you're going to come out a lot better than you think. So don't be flipped out by the fact that they can come back and get some money, okay? We can get that reduced. The judge will have the last say. The insurance company does not get to walk in and say, we paid this, we want it all back. It doesn't work that way. Okay? We will fight them in every single case to minimize and reduce whatever they're entitled to. And that's going to work out a lot better for each and every person in here, whoever has liens against them. Okay, so that was a big victory that Judge Cahill agreed with us that they need to come into our case. Now what happens is, Let me see. I'll get back to that. Let me just finish that. The insurance companies do not agree with his ruling. This came down last week. So we need to take that issue up to the Supreme Court. We need to have the Supreme Court determine whether Judge Cahill's ruling was correct. And his ruling, quite frankly, was exactly what we told him. Everything we set forth under the statutes in Hawaii, he agreed with us 100%. So that sort of tells you that we're on the right track, okay? But unfortunately, it's such a big issue, it's gonna have to get decided by the Supreme Court. So, yesterday, we filed a motion for what is called a reserve a question to the Supreme Court. Fancy term for, let's take this issue and send it to the Supreme Court now, the state of Hawaii Supreme Court. Let them tell us if Judge Cahill was correct. Right? So that motion was filed yesterday. It's going to be heard next Friday, a week from today. I anticipate Judge Cahill is going to grant that because he wants it reviewed right away too. So if that's granted, then we're going to have to go to the Supreme Court to convince the Supreme Court that we were right all along. Okay. There's also something called an interlocutory appeal. That's an immediate appeal. Most cases, you got to wait to the very end of the case before you can appeal. This goes hand in hand. The reservation of a question to the Supreme Court and the interlocutory appeal is how we get the question to the Supreme Court. We hope the Supreme Court agrees with us. Right now, my legal team, as well as the rest of the plaintiff's legal team, all believe we're on the right track and we have the law correctly stated in the case. Judge Cahill agrees with us top to bottom. He did not give them 1 point in that whole hearing. He agreed with us on every single issue. And he's a smart man. So I'm hoping we have 5 very smart Supreme Court justices who agree with us. Okay. Now, if they affirm that and it comes back down, they're going to say, yes, we agree with that. At that point, I think the insurance companies will have to give up their claim to try to cut in line. That's what they're trying to do in their lawsuit in Honolulu. They're trying to cut in line in front of all of you and get their hand in the pot before you. Okay. So if we can get that ruling affirmed, they're going to have to realize we got to sit in line with everybody else. And at that point, 2 things are going to happen. One, either they will sit in line and we'll take case by case to determine if they have a lien and if they do, exactly how much. It's a very complicated process when we go case by case, but I assure you, they're not going to get every dollar they want. You will end up with money that is worthwhile in your behalf, even if you got insurance, okay? The other thing that could happen is they make a deal where we can cut them a small piece of the settlement and they go away. That may be a better way because they'll go faster, okay? So that's the overall picture of what's going on. Let me show you a couple more things. This is a settlement term sheet. This is what was the tentative settlement with the mediation. This is what we have agreed with the mediators and the defendants. This is the settlement term sheet that the insurance company refused to sign. And they just refused to get on board with this. And that's what we're fighting all about. Let me talk a little bit about the settlement itself. If you remember if you've been with us from the beginning, who did I say started the fire? Hawaiian Electric, right? I told you guys in the first 5 days of our investigation, I had a team out here of experts and attorneys landed on Thursday night. We're on the ground on Friday. By Sunday night, we knew exactly who and how the fire started. After we made that determination that Hawaiian Electric power line started the fire and that they actually re-energized the lines when it was sitting in the brush, Our investigation and research went on. We determined that the state of Hawaii had liability for their lands that was mismanaged because a fire went from Lahaina Luna Road through state of Hawaii land and then got into that gully. We talked about that gully many times before. And that's where the fire really exploded. What went from a 3 to 4 foot flame turned into a 20 to 30 foot flame. And with the winds on that day, there's no way you could stop that 20 to 30 foot fire. And it jumped to 20 and 30 feet because of that gully filled with dry trees and dry big brush. And the gully was owned by Bishop Estate. And Bishop Estate was actually cited just 2 years earlier for fire violations in that area and dealing with that gully. So the point I want to make is that for the last 10 months, I've been telling you, Hawaiian Electric started the fire. State of Hawaii gave the fuel for the fire, and the Bishop Estate gave the big fuel for the fire. And lo and behold, as we got to that mediation, you can see that the culpable parties are indeed putting up most of the funds, exactly as we told you from 10 months ago. The Hawaiian Electric is putting up $1.99 billion. You know, these numbers were all confidential, and Michael and I couldn't really talk to you about it the last time, but quite frankly, it has been revealed by other parties in the newspaper, and it's been reported in the media. So all this is not from the mediation, because I cannot violate the confidentiality, but all of these numbers are coming from the media that has been reporting on this. Okay. So just as we told you, the most culpable party was always Hawaiian Electric, and they're paying about half of the whole thing. The Bishop Estate, we told, State of Hawaii, we told you early on, they were culpable or responsible because of their poor land management. They're paying a big chunk of this, about $800 million. And the Bishop Estate, likewise, who's responsible for their gully, is matching that with another $872.5 million. The rest of the defendants are putting up the remainder of about $337 million. Now, interesting thing about the County of Maui, yes, there was responsibility there, but what we did with the County of Maui is they had a claim because the County of Maui lost a lot of infrastructure, and they got to pay to put up all the roads and the sewers and pipes and the water. They had claims in the billions of dollars. So their contribution to this is they're dropping their claims so that they do not stick their hands in the settlement, in the settlement, global settlement amount. So yes, they're not, they are throwing some money. Their insurance money is going into it's part of that 337. But the bigger part of their contribution is they're agreeing not to take any money from the Global Settlement Fund. And their claim was literally in the hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. So that's a good thing. Because I know a lot of people are concerned, why isn't the county paying more money into it? The reason is they're giving up a huge, huge claim so that the money can stay for the people, okay? All right. I think I covered all that. This is the special this is actually the lawsuit filed by the insurance companies in Honolulu. They filed it in January. It's in the First Circuit before Judge Dean Ochiai, and there's actually over 140 insurance companies that's listed. That's all of them, okay? In fact, it goes up more. In fact, it goes more. 140 of them have filed a lawsuit on Oahu. They're in front of Judge Ochiai, who's a very, very smart judge. And like I said, we need to eventually go there and fight with that case once we get everything back from the Supreme Court. We actually tried to get into that case last week. We filed a motion for intervention, meaning asking Judge Ochai, we need to be able to get into their case so that we can talk to him about what kind of rulings should come out of his courtroom. I happen to know Judge Ochai very well. He and I have litigated against each other for the last 43 years. He was an insurance defense attorney. I consider him a friend. Yeah, I think I actually wrote a recommendation. I hope so. No, Judge Dean and I go back 40 plus years. We filed that motion for intervention. We had a hearing last Wednesday. And what he ruled was, basically, he wanted to see what happens with our order in Judge Cahill's courtroom. So he continued our motion for intervention for another 60 days, wanting to see what happens with we getting the case up to the Supreme Court or not. At first, I was disappointed in his ruling. I wanted him to allow us into that case right away so we could start fighting the insurance companies in there. But the more I think about it, I think he's thinking that, no, you guys are saying the fight should be in Cahill's courtroom, so I'm going to back off and let you guys do that fight there. And if you go to the Supreme Court and say that's where the fight should be, then I think he's going to come along and do whatever we ask him to do with his case. So, like I said, I was a little disappointed he didn't allow us into that case right away, but the more I think about it, I think he actually agrees. And he says, go do your fight in Cahill's court, just let me know what's going on. Okay. The special proceeding is a matter under Hawaii law that we put together. You have to understand, this is a very special case. There has never been a case like this in the history of our state. It is the biggest, most complicated case in Hawaii judicial history. And I think I told you this early on. Judge Cahill called me one day, like within 2 weeks after the fire, saying, Jan, you're going to be involved in these cases? And I said, yes. He said, I heard there's going to be 200 plus lawyers involved. I said, probably. And he said, I'm not letting 200 lawyers come in my courtroom to talk. He said, I can't even fit that many lawyers in my courtroom. He said, you guys got to organize and come up with a system where somebody can represent the whole plaintiff's bar. And so that's how we came about creating this special proceeding, whereby there's 4 liaison counsels. It's myself and 3 others. We are designated to go to the court to speak to the judge. We have other committees involved in the strategy of the case. We have other committees dealing with the settlement. And it's a procedure that has worked actually pretty well. And it's run by Judge Cahill. And the purpose of the last hearing was for him to decide that the insurance companies could only get into his case and do it case by case and not do the case in Honolulu. Let me see, what is this? Okay, this is the order that he granted last Tuesday verbally, where he said, yes, I agree with you plaintiffs that the insurance companies should not be able to proceed with their case in Honolulu. They need to get into our case on an individual basis, and this order was filed August 19. Mediation is still something we're engaged in. Like I said, if we can get the Supreme Court to affirm this order of Judge Cahill, I highly suspect that the insurance companies are going to step forward and say, let's try to resolve it again, which would be a better thing for you if the numbers are right. Numbers was not right the first time. And that's why we rejected them and said, no, you guys are being unreasonable. You guys want too much, and we're not going to let the fund be depleted like that. But if we can get the Supreme Court on our side, which I think we can, I think they will then say, well, okay, let's make a deal that works for everybody. Okay. So that would be done through mediation. Will the insurance companies appeal Judge Cahill's ruling? Well, this is interesting. We're not going to even wait for them to make that decision. We filed our own motion to take it to the Supreme Court because we don't want to delay. We don't want them sitting there saying, well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. We filed our own motion that's going to be heard next Friday saying, Judge, send this to the Supreme Court right now. And hopefully the governor, who has been very, very effective in getting things done for this global settlement, hopefully he can get his judiciary, not that he's the judge, but he can get the Supreme Court to give priority to this case. That we're not sitting in line with the other 500 appeals, but rather the Supreme Court takes it up as soon as possible. Okay. That will still be a 3 to 4 month process at the very least, but I don't think the Supreme Court is going to make all of you and all of the attorneys sit around for the next year, which is the usual course. I think the Supreme Court will in fact take it up on an expedited basis. So that is basically where we're at right now. The defendants have put up $4 billion plus. It's still on the table. There's a number of conditions that's got to be met. The biggest condition is we got to get rid of the insurance company's claim. And Judge Cahill has made clear to the insurance company, he thinks they got to wait in line like everybody else. They did not like that. Let me tell you that right off the top. They thought they could get into the case in Honolulu and grab a chunk of this money and run away while everybody else waits. The fact that Cahill said, no, you guys got to wait with everybody else, and then I will deal with those liens if one is valid. He's got to figure out if it's valid, okay? And two, how much you actually get back, insurance company. And I am very, very confident Judge Cahill will do a very fair decision on each and every individual case if the insurance company actually comes after that money. The other alternative, like I explained, is if we get a good ruling from the Supreme Court, I think they'll say, let's cut a deal and we'll go away and you guys can have the rest of the money. Again, we will figure that out whether it's worthwhile to everybody. Anybody got questions about that? I know that's kind of complicated. It's got to be because it took me weeks to figure it out. That's the hard part to determine, okay? What I've been telling my clients is that it's not going to be pennies on the dollar, okay? It's going to be something worthwhile, okay? I'm thinking half is on the low side. I'm hoping more 70–80%, but you know, we have to recognize the reality of this situation is that there's 10,000 plus claimants. It is a compromised global settlement. If we had pushed this further, and we still may end up there, the biggest problem would be the risk of Hawaiian Electric declaring bankruptcy. Yep. That is a very serious, serious risk. I think I told many of our clients I wasn't afraid of the bankruptcy. Quite frankly, I think in the bankruptcy, we'd end up with about the same amount of money. The difference is, it'll be 5 years from now, okay? You see, in bankruptcy, it's not a bankruptcy where they go insolvent and they close up. It's a Chapter 11 restructuring bankruptcy. And the state, the governor will never let the Hawaiian Electric go under. They'll supplement they'll take care of them. And there will be all kinds of litigation in the bankruptcy court about how much assets they need to throw into the bankruptcy fund. Let me explain. If they declare a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, essentially what they're saying is we don't want to fight anymore. They're saying, Judge, take our insurance money, take our cash assets, take these assets that we're willing to give to bankruptcy court, and Judge, you figure out how to compensate the victims. So in essence, it's a win. It's just that that process would take about 4 to 5 years. What we've done is get that now. So that's why we're taking this shot. So, but it was a legitimate or concerning risk that they said, we cannot continue to fight this case without declaring bankruptcy. If we continue to fight this case, and they were paying, according to the media, $1 million a week in legal fees, I said, we're gonna declare bankruptcy. We can't go a whole lot longer. We actually thought they were gonna do that early on, like last year sometime. They did not. They figured out we could last X amount of months or years before we are forced into bankruptcy. But they made very clear to us that that was coming to an end. They either had to get some kind of resolution, or they would go into bankruptcy. And again, the point I want everybody to get, because it's not a horrible thing. I still think we'll get the money out of them, but we're going to get it 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years from now. It's a lot better to get it out of them now. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Robbie. I lost my house, and I had excellent home insurance. But I feel I'm being victimized because they want to take the money I paid for my home insurance and take it from any settlement. I mean, don't insurance companies have insurance companies for these kind of disasters? I feel like I did the right thing. I paid lots of money for my insurance. I don't know why I feel I'm being penalized.
Yeah, unfortunately, Robbie, if you look at the small print in your insurance contract that you signed when you took it, that's what it says, that they have what is called subrogation rights. When you collect money from somewhere else, they have the right to try to make a claim. Again, but please understand, we will fight their claim. Okay, I don't think they're going to get even half of what they want. Okay, that's how so in the end, maybe I should have done a couple examples up here. You get to keep the money you got from your insurance, and we will fight their claim for reimbursement from your settlement. You may not get your entire settlement, but you'll get a good portion of it. So you add that together, you still come out ahead. Okay.
You're not going to try to take it from my own personal.
No. They don't get to do that. Yeah, it's only from that settlement. If you're awarded X amount in the settlement, that's all they can get at the maximum. And I'm certain the judge is going to reduce that by huge percentages. And so you will end up with additional money. Okay? But yes, I understand what you're saying. It's terrible. They've been making huge profits and premiums from Hawaii for many, many years, and this is what they do to you in the end. Judge Cahill is very aware of that, and he is a very fair and what we call equitable judge. He doesn't have to give them everything they want, and I got a feeling he's going to stick it to them. But anyway, don't quote me.
My name is Hans Michael. I'm a resident in Lahaina, 61 years. My question is Bishop Estate still the landowner? I've been here, they're making a switch over to Kamehameha School.
Bishop Estate and Kamehameha schools are the same thing. The Bishop Estate is the actual estate. They want to be known as Kamehameha schools now, but it's one and the same.
But the difference, Bishop Estate pays property tax, Kamehameha doesn't pay.
Kamehameha schools is just the name of the entity. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same
So
thing.
they can run away then, no matter which way, what side they are on.
Correct. They cannot run away. It's the same. It's really the same thing.
It's important, you know?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's a publicity thing. If it's Bishop Estate, they're thinking the jury will have no compassion for the Bishop Estate, but if it's Kamehameha schools or educational place, that people don't want to whack them, okay? But it's actually the same person. It's the same entity. That's why they changed their name. Okay. Yeah, all of my life they were known as the Bishop Estate. Only in the last 20 years have they gone by Kamehameha schools, but it's the same people. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
My name's Lars Johnson. I was curious about how the made whole doctrine applies to all of this.
Okay. I was trying to stay away from that. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. A made whole doctrine is a legal rule of law that says unless you are made whole for all of the damages you incurred, the insurance company does not get anything. Okay? And that's how we're going to fight them when they make their liens. Okay? Hawaii has never adopted that rule of law clearly, but they have not rejected it either. It's another gray area. So, yes, the very first argument we have when they come with a lien, say you got some, your house dwelling coverage and your loss of use coverage and whatever. If you got $500,000 from the insurance company, but your house is gone, all your personal property is gone, maybe you got injured or somebody died, obviously your claim is way more than, say, $500,000. Under the made whole doctrine, the insurance company doesn't get a penny, and unless your settlement is for the actual amount of your damages. Let's say your damages was $2 million. If your settlement is only $1 million from the Global Fund as a compromise, they don't get anything. Okay. But again, that doctrine has not been clearly adopted in Hawaii. We are pushing for that. Okay. I don't, Judge Cahill, it's not an issue that Judge Cahill would have resolved in the last hearing. And he specifically said that's not what we're doing in this hearing. All we're doing is figuring out where does the insurance company make their claims. And he says, it's gotta be in my courtroom. And if you guys wanna argue the made whole doctrine when they make that claim, I'll entertain it at that time. Okay. So, yes, that is a huge part that the insurance companies are afraid of, and we have it in our back pocket for each and every one of you when we fight them over the actual. That's what I was referring to when I said, do they actually have a lien? Okay, because if the court adopts the made whole doctrine and says, no, this victim should have got $2 million, but only got $1.2 million. No, insurance company, you don't get a dime off it. That's the made whole doctrine. I'm not certain the court will adopt it black and white, but I think it will make a big difference on how the judge determines how much they get. So, good question. I don't know if that explains it to everybody.
One
Yeah,
more
sure.
question. With the Paradise Fire, when PG&E filed bankruptcy, they paid into the trust with stock.
Yes,
And because of that, it went from 13.6 to almost $16 billion.
yes,
It's been growing as their stock gets stronger.
yes.
My understanding is that HECO is part of HECO Holdings, which is one of the largest mortgage holders on these islands. How can they file bankruptcy? Can they separate themselves from the conglomerate?
They will try, okay? If you've been with us from the beginning, part of our team involves Chuck Choi. He's our bankruptcy expert. It's very interesting. The first 3 weeks I worked with Michael, we worked with fire experts. And once we figured out how the fire started, where it started, how it progressed, the next 2 weeks he said, we gotta meet with Chuck. We are already strategizing the bankruptcy issues. And so we have our bankruptcy lawyer to deal with all those things. So those are exactly the issues that would come up if they declare bankruptcy. Remember, I just told you they will give all their insurance, they'll give their cash assets, and they'll give the assets that they're willing to give. Chuck's ready to say they need to give.
Everything.
They will give A and B. Chuck has already done the research and ready to say no. They need to throw C, D, and E into this bankruptcy trust fund. So there will be a huge, huge litigation in bankruptcy court about what they need to throw in and what they can separate themselves from. So that's the general answer. So your question is spot on. They will try to hide their assets. They will try to say we don't need to throw this extra $500 million in, but we're ready for that. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to turn it. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Kim. Oh,
He's
one more.
paying for the removal of the debris. We didn't hear nothing saying it's paid and he's not gonna pay for it.
That was covered by FEMA, and yeah.
So nobody can send us the bill then. They'd like to know what's going on because it's all quiet.
I don't call my bill
It's too
collectors.
quiet.
I let them be quiet.
No, but you understand that's why I
Yeah.
asked you. Where
Yeah.
do we
Stick the
sit?
bear.
One
Okay.
day we get the bill for $30,000 for removal of the
Yeah.
debris.
No, that's a legitimate question. You know, that was a concern in the beginning, but I haven't heard much about that. Has anybody got billed by FEMA? No. I heard of it too. Sir, I gotta tell you, I don't know the answer. This is outside the litigation. This is your government. I can look into it.
I would
And,
appreciate it.
yeah, actually, yeah, I can look into it and see if I can figure that out. I was concerned about that, but hey, I'm not gonna call them if I.
No, no, not true, so we don't have to get this right one morning and
I
say,
know.
here, pay the bill, that's what you owe, you know.
So
Appreciate it.
I don't know the answer.
Thank
Okay.
I have a question about the insurance companies recouping their losses in relation to, what about all of the personal damages that are residual, that are not quantified by your physical house or your car, or not car, but
Yeah.
your personal belongings? What about all of the pain and suffering?
The pain and suffering and emotional distress. That is part of that made whole doctrine, in the sense that we go to court and tell the judge the value of this person's claim, taking into account the emotional distress and everything they went through, is $2 million. I'm just using that as an example. Okay, don't fall in love with the numbers. Just, okay, just, okay. Yeah. That judge, they really, if they were made whole for their losses of their property, losses of use of their home, and we calculate that out, and then you put on their emotional distress, if they lost a loved one, it should have been $2 million. But from this global fund, they only got 1 or 1.2 million. Judge, they're not made whole yet. For that reason, an insurance company shouldn't get anything. Okay, so that's where it falls into that doctrine. Yeah. Again, the Hawaii courts has not adopted the made whole doctrine, black and white. The judge may make up something. I don't know. It's just a gray area. But all of that is part of our argument to reduce the insurance company's claim. Yeah. Does that answer them? Yeah. Okay. Thought I saw a hand back here. Go ahead, Claire.
This is about the debris cleaning, because our insurance company said to hold back like 40,000 that we're gonna get billed in the future.
Yeah, many of the insurance companies held back on if you had debris coverage in your insurance policy. I, for one, did not, so they gave us all the money. And yeah, I'm concerned as he is that I'm gonna get a bill, but I haven't seen one yet. I'm not calling nobody.
But if you ever can give us a hard copy, so we know, can get off the road
Yeah.
after a certain time, you know?
Yeah, again, sir, I'll go look into that. I don't know the answer because that's a government issue.
Thank you very much.
Kim,
Bob,
Yeah.
how will the attorney's fee, recover out of the global settlement?
how's that work? Yeah, with the global summit, it's just as you signed up on your contract. It'll be person to person from your portion of the settlement. Now, let me also state, so in other words, whatever the contract says, whatever you cover, that's going to be subject to the attorney's fees. And that's also the point I was making about the insurance company's claim. I'm certain the judge is going to reduce that claim by the amount of the attorney's fees, or at least the percentage of the attorney's fees. Because you are paying to go recover this money. Insurance company comes in saying, we want some. At the very least, the judge is going to say, no, you're not getting the whole thing. The victim went and paid his attorney for this. You guys are going to share in those fees, and I'm going to reduce your claim by that same percentage. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
sort of
Yeah.
after all that, insurance companies and attorneys, is there gonna be anything left for us?
My answer is yes. Okay, I wouldn't be doing this if the answer was no. I think there's going to be a worthwhile recovery after the fees and everything else. Yeah.
Is the Maple doctrine applied to all parties, burned down or not burned down, or only burned?
All parties. All parties. Again, that's not the law in Hawaii yet. The made whole doctrine is mainly there so there's no duplicate recovery, that people don't recover twice. Where if, say, you got $100,000 in insurance and the judge says, well, your claim is $100,000 and you get the whole thing from the global settlement fund, you can't keep both of them, okay? But in most cases, the insurance does not cover all your losses. Just as she pointed out, the emotional distress, nobody's paid for that.
So this doesn't quantify of
Yeah.
what everybody experiences.
And that's what a judge and jury does in every case. They have to quantify what the emotional distress is. You know.
Is that why family members have separate, like separate clients with their firm? Instead of as one family member?
Yes, because every person has a different claim. Even from mom and dad to a kid, the emotional distress is different from all of them, especially if one of the kids maybe was not in the burn zone versus the one that was in the burn zone. Everybody's claim is different. Every one of you went through a different experience. Some of you really, really saw the hell of this fire. Others may have been out in Kaanapali when it happened. So all of those factors goes to the value of each claim. Every single person is treated in their individual capacity to figure out what is the true value of their claim. No, not yet. Like myself, I lost 2 family homes. I wasn't living there and I wasn't in Lahaina. I have no emotional distress claim. Okay, and I'm not going to ask for it. I would appreciate if I could rebuild my family homes, but so be it. So every single case is different. Okay?
Excuse me, you're well speaking and I understand everything very well. Is this recovery money taxable or taxable?
Right now, it is not taxable. Okay?
What do you mean now? Does that change?
Your government is trying to tax it every year. I can tell you under the law, if we settle this case today, and I get to draft a settlement document the way I want it, it will not be taxable. I cannot guarantee that with Congress next year or the year after. Every single year, Congress changes the laws and they keep taxing everybody. Let me give you an example. 30 years ago, all of these settlements were non-taxable, all of them. Over the course of the last 30 years, I've been practicing 43 years. they manage to tax libel and slander damages. That doesn't apply here, but they're taxing those now. They've managed to tax punitive damages. If you get a punitive damage award against the defendant, that is taxable. They have tried to change the law for personal injury and property damage. That has not passed as of yet. But I'm not in Congress, and I cannot promise you what they're gonna do next year. I don't think they'll get there. I'll tell you what they will get to one day though. Taxing loss of earnings claims. If you lost your business or you lost your job and that's part of your claim here, my guess is in the next 5 years, hopefully after this case settles, they're gonna enact a law to tax those things. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, we really need to get to the case management because that's how we build your claims up. So, Suzanne?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Suzanne. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, I am the ground operations supervisor at the office in Kahului and lead the case management team along with Michaela, who's over there in the corner somewhere. And so, here it is. So a lot of you have already done this case management. Whoops, wrong way. The purpose of the case management is to build your individual claims. And everyone, this is mostly done by all the local team here on Maui at the office in Kahului, sometimes over at Jan's office as well. But this is the process in which we get all the information from each of you to build your individual claims. So when it's time, if and when that settlement is finally finalized, and we have a claims administrator set up and to submit those claims, that's what we need from you in order to be able to do that. So for those of you who haven't had your case management appointment yet, you can anticipate it to be about an hour to an hour and a half. That can be either done over the phone or at our office in Kahului, whichever is most convenient and whichever is most comfortable for you. During that appointment, you'll walk through a fairly long questionnaire with the case manager that you're meeting with that will go over each way in which you were specifically harmed or damaged, whether it was your home, you lost income, you lost a vehicle, you lost a loved one, all your personal property, and that also covers, like you brought up earlier, the emotional distress part of it, right? What you experienced on the day of August 8th, how your life has been impacted since. All of that is super important that for us to package all together and then submit as your claim when that time comes. I have a list of documents for those of you that have not had that case management yet or just need a reminder of what we're asking for, the supporting documents in order to help prove the specific damages. If you're a homeowner, you have homeowner's insurance, we need a copy of that policy. We need your claim. We need your claim information. We need your payment information. If you're a renter, do you have a rental agreement? Do you have proof that you lived at that address? If you lost a vehicle, that vehicle information. In terms of the emotional distress and the nuisance, some of that can come from you as a personal narrative. You can also provide photos in that sense. And once then you have that appointment with your case manager, they will follow up with you on a regular basis. Usually the best way to do that is via email, but if you're not super comfortable with email, you can always give them a call. If you can't reach them, you can always reach our office and we will pass those messages along. And then the screen isn't. I have a couple QR codes up here. If you scan those, it'll take you right to our calendar app where you can schedule your case management appointment either in person at our office in Kahului or also on phone. It's on a next a couple slides later, so hopefully that won't come through. Again, these are all the things, or the big umbrella of things that we're collecting the information for in the case management appointment. Like I said, your real property, that's your home. Okay, your personal property is everything that was inside the home. any vehicles, again, any personal injury, emotional distress, as well as your business income loss, anything related, whether it was touched by fire, it's economic loss, as well as your personal income loss. Did you lose a job because of the fire? Whether that place of employment wasn't touched by fire, or it was related to reduction in work due to, you know, Maui and the West Side closing for the amount of months that it did. This is just a brief slide. Again, these are some of the things that we would need in order to prove those specific damages. Again, I have printouts of all of this stuff. I have about 50 copies. I don't know that I have enough for everyone, but definitely if you want to take one per household, I can certainly hand those out to you as you guys on your way out the door. We can also, more than happy to email all of this stuff to you. Just either call our office or email help@hicolawsuit.com. Just a quick screenshot here. 2 versions of our personal property list. The one over here on your left, that's our paper copy. The one over here on the right is the Excel version. So we can send you an Excel spreadsheet if you're more comfortable working in a spreadsheet. We can send that to you, and that's how you're going to create your personal property list. And again, the case manager will go over specifically best ways to fill this out. This is a big task. It's hard to go through in your mind, you know, everything that was in your home. But these lists are both serve as a resource to help jog that memory. You may think you've gone through it and you're walking around and, oh, I had that. But sitting down and looking through all of that can help hopefully jog your memory. And the purpose of these in personal property is to get the maximum replacement value for everything that was lost in the home. Yes.
Do they not do a cookie cutter price for all the small things since they're generally the same? Because it should vary so much. Do they not just put their own price on all that stuff?
You can price it if you want. We will be using a third party to price everyone's personal property list based on the current value. So one thing to note, it is important with personal property lists, and you probably all heard this if you had your case management appointments, be as specific as you can. Where did you buy it? What was the brand? If we know that information, we get that higher maximum replacement value for that item. Personal injury, if anyone was injured or suffering severe emotional distress, seeking treatment for that, these get your medical records. Sometimes it's easier for you to get them to us instead of us having to request them down the line. It's just a quicker process. And again, going back now to our emotional distress, just some ideas of how to present what you experienced on that day and how life has been impacted since. Again, case manager will walk you through all of this and continue to do so after your case management. It's not a one and done thing. You know, they will be in correspondence with you on a regular basis as things change in the case or as we reach certain milestones in the settlement and claims process. We will be reaching back out to you on a regular basis if there's any type of other information that we need. You good?
Let me go back to your question about the cookie cutter valuation. I know that doing these case management things seem to be a burden and a hassle, and why do we have to do this? It really goes to the made whole doctrine. I kind of liked your question. You phrased it, aren't they gonna use a cookie cutter? They is the insurance company and the enemy. We need to do it and maximize your claim, okay? So to answer your question, yes, the insurance company wants you not to do this. They want you to just slap something together because then it's gonna look like you're fully compensated from the settlement. What we gotta do, the case management is so important because if we can show the judge that you have not been fully compensated, the greater the claim that is not fully compensated, the greater the probability that the judge is gonna reduce the claim of the insurance company. Okay, so the insurance companies want you to do a cookie cutter thing, and they have their formulas. They go square foot of the house, personal property equals this. And it's never the full value. Okay, so I really encourage everybody. I know this is hard. I know it's a pain, but that's how we get the insurance claim reduced. When the judge sits there going, I really think these people should have got 2 million and they only got 1.2 million, and insurance wants 800,000. No, I'm not gonna let them get that. They're gonna only take home 400,000. The bigger your claim, the greater the probability of the insurance claim getting reduced. Okay? Everybody good with that? Okay. Oh. Yeah, the whole point is making this deal, or getting the judge to approve what we're doing, getting rid of the insurance company, and so that we end up with a global settlement fund that we can put the claims into. I want to get to the bottom, okay? Things will move a lot quicker if we can get the victims and survivors through this to a settlement fund. It's going to be administrated by this company called Brown Greer, or at least Brown Greer will accumulate all the information. This is a company that digitalizes all the data, all the information from each and every one of you. In fact, the court ordered us to file registrations with Brown Greer for all the cases that are filed in a lawsuit already. The deadline was today. And Michaela, sitting back there, actually filed 176 claims this afternoon. That's pretty amazing. And she promised me she's filing the other 2,000 this weekend, right? Okay. Which is not the deadline, but she says she's going to get it done. Brown Greer is a company that handles all of these large settlements throughout the nation. One of the good things is we have a very good relationship with them. Our team has worked with them on numerous fire cases, and we know what they want, and we know how we can actually maximize the claims with Brown Greer. In addition to Brown Greer, there's going to be someone appointed as the actual administrator of the Global Fund. And that we're hoping it's this person, Kathy Yanni. She has worked on many of the fire cases on the mainland. And again, our legal team has worked with her on numerous cases. And so we like working with her. Hopefully that's who the judge is going to appoint. Let me think. So, any other questions? Okay. QR code, if, you know, I don't know about you guys, I don't know how to use that stuff. You can call, the case managers are there to help you work up the case management. That's why and I want you guys to understand, our Kahului office is manned 6 days a week. We have almost 10 or 15 people working down there. I don't think there's any other law office or team working on Maui that does these things. Okay, we're the only people that does this, so I hope you guys get that we're working as hard as we can for you. Okay. All right, so thank you for coming, and drive safely.
board.
Take care. Enjoy those grandkids. Yes. Yeah. I know.
My mom died. Her first movie. She had a good year. I was there and it was unexpected. Yeah, she never suffered in May. So now I can. This is the first time I can go out of it.
How are you?
Doing good. Nice to see
Yeah, good to see you too. How's the family?
you.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're just going through the process of the permitting still.
Oh, for real.
No such thing as affordable.
Literally.
Yeah?
But just rolling.
Day by day, kind of, you know.
Like
Good
everyone.
to see you. Yeah.
But thank you again for
You take care of
everything you
Sing.
guys all did. Every one of you.
Pretty every time you see
And
me,
then,
right?
what is his name?